Hello guys, welcome to Gaming GT. So today we are going to take a look at 10 best Apple Arcade games which you can play right now. So at the number 10 we have Oceanhorn 2. Oceanhorn 2 is an open world action adventure video game created by Fox and Rose, a Finnish studio, on September 19, 2019. It was released as an Apple Arcade exclusive, so you can play it only on Apple Arcade. And it is a millennium before the events of Oceanhorn Monster of Uncharted Seas. So it's basically like a prequel to the first Oceanhorn game, which was released also on Android. Oceanhorn 2's gameplay and graphics are remarkably similar to those of the Legend of Zelda video games, which is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing considering how the Legend of Zelda games are. So up next at number 9 we have Alba Wildlife Adventure. Ustvo Games' Alba a Wildlife Adventure is an open world adventure game. The game focuses on world exploration and wildlife conservation. It was released on December 11, 2020. In this game, Scarel is a fictional island town in the Valencian community in Spain where the game takes place. And Alba Singh, our protagonist, is a teenager from the United Kingdom who travels to the United States for a week's visit to see her grandparents. Critics loved this game when this game came out. So up next at number 8 we have NBA 2K22. NBA 2K22, as we all know, is a basketball simulation video game. So it is based on the National Basketball Association that was created by Visual Concept and published by 2K Sports in 2021. It is the sequel to NBA 2K21 and the 23rd installment in the NBA 2K franchise. In comparison to NBA 2K20 and NBA 2K21, I would say that critics gave NBA 2K22 generally good reviews. Up next at number 7 we have Oregon Trail. The Oregon Trail is an instructional strategy video game in which the player directs a group of people traveling down the Oregon Trail from Missouri to Willamette Valley, Oregon in 1848 as the leader of wagon train. The game is played using touch controls with the player selecting one of the numerous alternatives. They begin the game by choosing a profession for their character, the protagonist, and they have to choose between carpenter, banker, farmer, etc., which correspond to the level of difficulty they will face, and it also gives them varied amount of money with which to begin the adventure with. And then it is a text-based version of the game which was released for Apple II, and it was released in 1978 for the first time by MECC, which is Minnesota Educational Computing Consortium. On November 17, 2011, the Game Loft launched this particular version, which we are talking about in this video. Up next at number 6 we have Sayonara Wild Hearts. Sayonara Wild Hearts is a music-based action game developed by Simogo and published by Annapurna Interactive in Sweden. Sayonara Wild Hearts is described as a pop album video game that follows the story of a heartbroken young woman across a bizarre setting. The user controls the woman while collecting hearts, avoiding obstacles, and fighting opponents in each level of the game, which is set to a song. So according to the review aggregator Metacritic, Sayonara Wild Hearts generally garnered positive reviews, and the aesthetics and soundtracks of the game were widely praised. The game's soundtrack received positive reviews. The soundtrack was deemed simply fantastic by PlayStation Universe and the best soundtrack of any game published in 2019. So up next on the list at number 5 we have What the Golf. Triband created and published the video game What the Golf in September 19, 2019 on the subscription service Apple Arcade. The game is based on finishing levels in order to advance on the world map. Each level's goal is to go to the hole. Traditional golf is twisted at every level of the game. Seriously, this game is trippy. Each portion of the global map has a distinct theme that the level's unique mechanics adhere to. And according to the review aggregator Metacritic, What the Golf earned generally good reviews across the board, and Touch Arcade Sergio Velasquez, forgive me if I am pronouncing that wrong, liked the game's element of surprise, and Destructoid's Jordan DeBoer praised the game's comic value. So overall, What the Golf is a very fun, trippy experience. We are inching closer to the top 3 spots. Up next at number 4 we have Grindstone, the fan favorite. Capybara Games designed and published Grindstone, a 2019 puzzle adventure game. The goal of the game is for the player to complete stages by destroying foes with attack. It was first launched on September 16, 2019 for macOS and iOS via Apple Arcade. The game takes place on a grid, and the user controls George, the protagonist of the game. By using his sword to attack creatures, George may move in 8 different directions: up, down, left, right, and diagonally. George has 3 ability slots that can be filled with special abilities like a bow that allows you to pick one adversary from the map, etc. etc. And critics commented Grindstone for its color matching puzzles and dynamics, and it earned favorable reviews on Metacritic. The game has generally good reviews across the board. Okay, so at number 3 we have Mini Motorways. Mini Motorways is a puzzle strategy game which was developed by Dinosaur Polo Club in New Zealand. It's a sequel to Mini Metro, which was released in 2015. The game is similar to its predecessor Mini Metro, although it involves building road network instead of rail networks using a grid-like approach. So the game entails designing roads to connect residences with automobiles to structures of the same color, like red to red and yellow to yellow, etc. etc. As the game advances, more and more buildings and houses arrive at random. So Mini Motorways has garnered mostly positive feedback since its launch, and Touch Arcade's Nathan Reynolds, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, appreciated the game's minimalistic art style and soundtrack. Okay, so we are at number 2. At number 2 we have Sneaky Sasquatch. RAC7, an independent Canadian studio, created Sneaky Sasquatch, an Apple Arcade game about the life of a Sasquatch. In 2020, it was named Apple Arcade's Game of the Year. Sneaky Sasquatch's main character is, well, obviously Sasquatch. Okay, so before we see the number 1 game in this list, here are some other video games which I think are pretty good and you should definitely check them out. And finally, at number 1, we have Fantasian. Mistwalker's Fantasian is a role-playing video game released in 2021 for iOS devices via the Apple Arcade service. Hironobu Sakaguchi produced and wrote it, I am hoping I'm pronouncing that right, and Nobuo Uematsu composed the music. Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu are best known as the creators and pioneers of the Final Fantasy series, which we all know and love. Players explore the realm of Fantasian by tapping on a location, which Leo will then move to. Random encounters occur as the player navigates the world, requiring the player to face a small group of adversaries. The game switches to a turn-based RPG during these battles. According to the Metacritic, Fantasian garnered generally positive reviews across the board. The Dimension system, the diorama sets, the soundtrack, and the gameplay during battle received special appreciation, while the game's story was criticized for being like a conventional JRPG story. So that's all for Fantasian. You should definitely check this game out. So that's all, for those were some good Apple Arcade games and you should definitely check them out. And that's it for this video. Until next time, peace.